So this is my little Berkey filter. We're out here at Crystal Lake Reservoir. The Berkey bottle comes with a Berkey filter attached to it. This is a sports bottle. And you can just take the container, fill it up, and fill it up with the creek water. Alright, I have the Berkey water filter. To prime it, all you need to do is fill it up with water, flush it out a little bit, and that just cleans the filter out. And then you can refill it. Your step is supposed to filter out all the pathogens and bacteria. It will not filter viruses, but it will filter out chlorine as well. And this is a really great travel bottle to have with you wherever you go. That tastes really good, just like fresh water. Well, one thing I discovered with my little Berkey setup is that this little thing will leak out the top, the water does, because it comes up the straw and it kind of wicks up if it's on its side. So what I'm going to be using this for is to fill bottles of water, but then empty the water out. Make sure the water comes out of the straw all the way before I put it back in my pack. Otherwise it tends to leak all over because it just siphons up the straw. Hello everyone, I am back from my adventure into the woods, and I'm going to show you how to clean and store your Berkey bottle so you don't have what happened to me. When I left this thing in my bottle after a few months, I had rinsed it and I thought everything was dry, but this little plastic, as you can see right here on this plastic, it kind of retains some of the water, and so even though I thought it was dry by touching it, there was still water inside the unit. And so when I put it back together, I ended up with a ring of mildew forming around the base of my filter after I had left it in this bottle set up for a few months before I used it again. So I'm going to show you how to properly clean and store your Berkey sports bottle and how you can prevent that from happening. Okay, so what I usually like to do is I like to rinse it out with my city water. And then the Berkey website suggests that you take the filter off the unit. You can use a little screwdriver and gently pry the filter off. So you want to gently pry this off, ever so gently, and when it starts to slip loose, it comes right off. Now as you can see, that opens up the filter so that it is able to better dry inside. You've got this exposed to air and that exposed to air, and that allows you to rinse this filter out and flush it real good. And then after you've washed this the best you can, I suggest you get this little kit. It's called the Blackberry Primer, and it's actually made to prime the bigger Berkey filters. But I found that this little primer comes with different valve stems that you can set up, and depending on what side you set the valve stems up, it will either blow air out or pull water or air through the system. So I basically take off one end of the unit, the side that is blowing the air, and I set it on this, in the hole of this Blackberry filter, this little sports bottle filter, and watch how it will blow the water right out of this filter. Now I have heard that they have designed a larger filter system for the sports bottle to fit on the larger straws. So I don't know for sure if this fits as well on those units or not, but I imagine even if it's a little bit larger of a hole, you could probably maybe put your finger around it or make some kind of a seal so it seals better. But it seems to work really well on these filters to flush the water out of the unit. And once you blow as much out as you can, then you can be confident that it will dry without forming black mold inside or mildew or whatever that happened to my first water sports bottle kit. So I suggest that before you put it all together, of course you want to make sure it's all dry, but at least blowing the water out and then letting it sit out for a few days or maybe even a week before you put it all back together would probably be the safest thing to do to prevent black mold from developing. And then the rest of this unit you can actually clean out. with a solution of 50% hydrogen peroxide and 50% water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the hydrogen peroxide to my bottle. I have a 3% hydrogen peroxide. We're going to pour that in. I'm not going to fill it all the way up. I'm just going to put a little bit here in the bottom so I can see approximately how much is in there to make a 50% solution. So that's about 50% hydrogen peroxide and 50% water. And what I do then is I'll put the straw together and the cap all together here. Put it all like that. So I'm going to rinse this out like this. Make sure that it covers all in the inside. And then I'm going to try seeing if I can get it through the straw, which is a little tricky because I don't have the filter in it. And they said not to run this with the filter, not run it through the filter. So I'm going to see if I can use that solution now to wash my straw out. And you can see it's rinsing down through the straw. So that's how you can sterilize your unit when you don't have a good water source, or if you're not going to be using it for a few months. You want to sterilize everything else. And then they said to go ahead and rinse, assuming again your water source is clean. You can rinse that all out. They also said you can use bleach to clean it out, but they said not to use any kind of bleach that has any kind of like color fast or any kind of additive to it. And they said the bleach solution would be 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 gallon of water. I prefer the hydrogen peroxide. It's not toxic, it's cheap, and it does a good job of sterilizing everything. So what you'll do now is have everything sit out and dry. And you want to make sure, again, that before you put everything all back together, before you reattach the filter to the straw, everything needs to be thoroughly dry. And once it is, then you can reattach everything and store it like you would before you go hiking. Thank you all for watching. Below the video, you will find links to where you can purchase the Berkey Sports Bottle Water Filter and the Blackberry Primer, which you can use to flush out the filter. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe.